what they say, pushing you don't want to in my way. I'm a real man, I can't change my way. Real man, I can't change my way. Fellas, if your girlfriend pass no disrespect about touchy. I that kind of stupid job, no other job, no bad like that. I see, I'm mad. You black and ugly, you black and ugly. When you see we clear out the way. When you see we clear out the way. Alright. When you see me in the van, leave me alone. When you see me in the bed, leave me alone. Alcohol ain't me in the van, leave me alone. Alright.
If you take a knife and you cut my skin, I show you go see. We share the same blood. Yeah. All a week in your history, we from the same cloth. Don't tell me about you more blessed than me. Take away everything and then tell me who you'll be. Take a drink with me. Like incompetence. Be closer than 9 and 10. Oh no, we stay.
Good night to all and sundry. Sorry about that, but I have to work behind the cameras in spite of the hoarseness of the voice. But nonetheless, enjoy. I am determined, of course, to bring a program, and the program you will have.
When I say I'm fed up with heart, all you feel is joke I'm making. Rock again, lad.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. But what I suggest tonight is that you still, of course, make your phone calls, but I will be behind the scenes because we are having some camera problems. But that does not stop the task, the effort, the determination, the patriotism, the insistence that, of course, the issues of the day must be vented. It doesn't matter, even if, of course, there's a lack of my own picture on screen live.
I buy she chocolate, I buy she rose, I push she out, I take she.
Once again, of course, I have no motion picture because the camera is giving problems, but I will take your calls. I will just simply be behind the scenes.
People calling him they say again, hard again.
Black blood in we vein, mass we going insane. Black blood in we vein, black blood in we vein, black blood in we vein. Job we going insane. Cause me mother was a jab woman, and she pick up a jab man. He give her some jab. 9 months later, well I was born, right in a jab hospital. I was fixing my jab breed. I went to a jab college. That's why I did like this. So when I dead, put jab on me too. Man, when I dead, put jab on me too.
So, circumstances beyond our control gave us some good news. The Minister of Finance reported that because of the unusually high oil in the gas price, we are going to get a bit more money than we had budgeted for. Had we not got that increase, that gave us some good news. The Minister of Finance reported that because of the unusually high oil price and some improvement in the gas price, we are going to get a bit more money than we had budgeted for. So, circumstances beyond our control gave us some good news. The Minister of Finance reported that because of the unusually high oil price and some improvement in the gas price, we are going to get a bit more money than we had budgeted for. Had we not got that increase, that unusual increase because of the Ukraine war, if we wanted to do those very said things, we would have had to go and borrow another 3.1 billion. And since the budget had already got a deficit of 9.1 billion in it, if we had gone and borrowed that 3 billion that we appropriated last week, the budget for 2022 would have had a deficit of $12 billion. $12,000 million. Those are the realities of our circumstance. We all know that what's happening in Ukraine could be temporary. More than likely, it is going to be temporary. Because the war in Ukraine, has pushed out of the market the largest exporter of oil and probably the largest exporter of gas, one of the largest exporters of gas. It is the Ukraine war that pushed the Russian supply out of the market. If anything happens out there that caused that situation to change, the war in Ukraine, then that pressure for the high price is gone and oil price will fall. You know that what's happening in Ukraine could be temporary. More than likely, it will be temporary. Because the war exporter of gas, you know that what's happening in Ukraine could be temporary. More than likely, it is going to be temporary. In Ukraine, because the war in Ukraine has pushed out of the market the largest exporter of oil and probably the largest exporter of gas, one of the largest exporters of gas. It is the Ukraine war that pushed the Russian supply out of the market. If anything happens out there that caused that situation to change, the war in Ukraine, then that pressure for the high price is gone and oil price will fall.
People, of course, didn't Rowley and Imber tell us that is because we are very in their argument for properties that the IMF said was prudent management of the economy, and that the level of unemployment was about is about 3%, and that their fiscal position on the expenditure side, according to Imbert, is so acceptable that the IMF has been giving Trinidad and Tobago some favorable review. Well, if that was the case, on the basis of performance of the government, why are they so strident on property tax? Why are they so strident on the whole question of increase in electricity rates? Why are they so strident in, of course, doing what they normally call as a prelude to providing harsh measures or implementing harsh measures? They're talking about a review of WASA. How come they introduce, of course, even a tire tax? How come they introduce a tax on online? How come? How come they want to, of course, introduce the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority? And let's go straight to the lines. As I said, I can only be behind the screens. We are getting some technical problems with the camera, so I will take your calls. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Just lower your device. Yes, good night. I'll be behind the scenes for tonight. Well, you know, I'm behind the scenes. I'm blind now.
I see how you're going.
I'm all right. Go ahead. I'm all right. Just a little horse shoot, but I'm all right.
Yeah. You know, Ember come yesterday like a chicken, beating up himself like a poor cock.
Yes.
would be calling in the morning and saying he borrowed $10 billion to do things down the road. You understand? That's what he say, you know. When they ask him where you got the money from, he said that to do things down the road. Yeah, definitely
Yes.
to do down the road.
Down
That's
the
where the
road,
$100 million coming from.
That's right.
And it's immoral property tax that is forcing on people. Right? It has some people living in a little shack. And they want to pay more money than who live in a big because of the way they define the property tax, the way they assess it, all of these things. And then they have you wanting to put your own on your rental value, all these sort of foolish formulas they come up with. These people really for real boy or not? Eh? If you're doing that, it has to be fair. It's not a moral tax upon each and every citizen of this country. You know what I say so? Because they're judging some people they go paying small money, and some people with little shack have to pay bigger money. And I can't understand that part. How it is that they're assessing these properties like that. And the way these so-called evaluators have to go about doing this, they sign up outside your house and judging your house to see how much toilet and bathroom and all kind of things. All they have to do know that. Eh? Because that's the criteria that was going on. And the judging you based on that kind of foolish formula. And that is, and after now, the interview why this salary is set at 2%, you know.
Yeah.
But that is a temporary thing. That is all part of electioneering. Because plenty of the people in this country are against the tax, right? But when they have to pay the 3% tax, they 2% they come more appealing, but jail. So if you get away from them for nothing, they don't have no heart at all. The way they deal with people in this country, they will take away with one and grab with two. You understand? And this DCP woman that they want to put in the police service there. This lady have a lot of checkered past there, boy, Lennox. The woman was involved in an alleged accident with her child. She was involved in a firearm user's license as a sergeant. And the Brent Thomas matter up in Tobago, Barbados, she was involved in that.
Yes.
And the Ula part two here, yeah, they don't give you one square peg in the Ula. They want to put she now. And the woman has so much of things against she, and who could come out and unfortunately the woman, Ayana Webster Roy. She come out and say the woman have a good, I don't know what credentials she had, all that gone through the window because all those things happened between in a space of a year ago, right? So she should be a known entity regardless of whatever she has. And furthermore, she's a right friend, a so-called PNM MP. No. Take away she documentation from that and remove she from that post. How good is it?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, of course, for that contribution. As I said, of course, we have a camera problem tonight, so I am going to be behind the camera, but of course, I'll take your calls and we'll take it now over the last couple of days. I'm not prepared, of course, to continue. We have to find ways and means of airing the issues that are at hand, and just one creative way of making certain that you get the information that is required. Yes, indeed. Let me say once again that there is a contradiction. There is always something sinister about Dr. Rowley, the rapist, and of course, criminal, and his criminal gang of ne'er-do-wells and miscreants, because here it is, a windfall. Imbert is saying that the IMF watch at them and say that because of prudent management. And on the other hand, they're still looking to extract blood money from the population. Blood money through property tax and other on people's finances, already, of course, dwindling and not to the beneficiary of any developmental initiative of the government to expand the economy. Let's go straight to the lines. President, good night, welcome. Sorry about not being visible, but go ahead. President, good night. Criminal and his criminal gang of good night.
Hello, good night, Lennox.
Yes, good night.
I hear you a little far. I don't know if you hear me clearly.
I'm hearing you very clear, very clear. I don't know what is happening.
Well,
I'm hearing you clear. Yeah.
Lennox, once again. Well, Nice. Okay. Well, Lennox, the pressure started, the heat is on. Plenty victimization going on. And I remember you said that Heinz coming around there on George Street. I believe it's twice he came around there on George Street.
Yes. I said that.
Well,
I said, yeah.
I don't know what he came for, but he will be on your case. Now, it's going to get dread. They starting all now, elections in the air. But what I want to say is, they deport the Cuban boy, the comedian from Cuba. They deport him. And here's a whole plane here alone straight back to Cuba. Right?
Right.
Now, these people are the brotherhood, the Cubans. And who don't want to hear will have to feel.
Yeah.
And this whole country is going to feel it in a timing because they don't want to hear. It have a lot of jacket donkeys coming out and saying that I just only be talking about. The other day I talk about Haiti, but they don't want to hear that. They like to carry news, tell lies, and talk all kind of bacchanal. Especially all on the chat. It have a gang, and plenty of them have their ancestors' names. And it has had serious attack. Right? Plenty cussing, it is cussing. I get to understand everything, what they will tell you, what they will text. And they have names for everybody. But they don't like to give them names. They get upset and punch and invigorate people all up in Tobago to set you up, you know?
Yeah.
For talk show host to deal with you in a dread way. You understand? These people only like bacchanal. But Lennox, watch yourself. Just because Cuban boy used to talk out on the government, they deport him right back to the communist country. And I more believe they set up themselves, they talk to this government, that's the Cuban President Diaz-Canel, right? I believe he talk with the authorities here, and they get together and they hold him and they send him right back. When that man go back to Cuba, you hear executed. I understand he have family here, he have a wife, he have family, and he even hold a Trinidad and Tobago passport, right? But to say, if he want to fight a case and so, I don't think, you know, he would get through due to that regime. Right now, it is power outages. You know, they don't have much food. With the little food they're rationing them with, when the electricity cut, the food wasting. And this country, they have more troubles in protesting. And they come out brave and protesting since Sunday. And this country, we are afraid to protest, right? We have to go out there and protest, and when we go out there, we're using placards. In the height of COVID, when it had, you know, we went out there to protest by the Red House. I'm sure you can remember, I was the only one with a Bristol board and a marker to write something.
Yes.
And when everybody else didn't have, I say, let us put up and buy more marker and Bristol board and give it to them inside the parliament. Right?
Yes, you're right.
People that say Mr. Reema's fighting for nothing and no, they don't know enough. Yeah. And I find you should tell them, right? And we have placards. We have to start a bacchanal from now. You think it's gonna be easy for them? That brotherhood are wrongdoers, as Rowley say. I don't know that they're wrong, I don't know much about the wrong things, you know, but he know that the debts that us go at. So take what you will hear what happened to Cuban boy, that Fitzgerald Hines. You will hear what it is he do to that Cuban boy. He and that Diaz-Canel. All of them bad, down to the woman in Barbados. where she sent back Brent Thomas, right? Right now, you can't say nothing against the government. So let's see what we can do from now. We have to push them out.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, Lennox.
Yes, indeed, man. Of course, nothing must stop us. And I have a very interesting, of course, letter in my possession that I will attempt to show on the screen as well. But I thought I would start first by saying how unnecessary and how the exhibition of incompetence, impotence, and deception. And as far as I'm concerned, from a criminal perspective, these people believe that they have captured the government in such a way that they can, of course, at their whim and fancy, conduct themselves criminally, thief with this kleptocratic group of individuals who are total idiots. You can see that by the way that they are blatant and, of course, unrelenting and brutal, and talk a set of hogwash and what I consider to be total parasitic bunk, a bunch of political kobos who would stop at nothing, as the caller rightly said, and we must be conscious of that. And I'm going to demonstrate to you tonight another dimension of that, and why we have to, of course, be very, very, very vigilant and aggressive. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Yes, Lennox, I forget to talk about this Cuban boy issue.
Yes.
Good night again, Lennox. I forget to talk about the Cuban boy incident.
Go ahead.
Listen, you see Fitzgerald Hines is a wicked man. Fitzgerald Hines is a wicked man. Just because the fella was poking it fun against the PNL, he was poking it against the UNC and all the people at Trinidad. I used to sit down and watch the video. I see nothing wrong with that. He used to be telling it as he see it. Them get vexed because of that and deport a man, boy. The man living in this country 8 years old. 8 years and he doing nobody nothing there making a little video, and they do that. This PNM government, this dictating PNM government, this wicked, evil Fitzgerald Hines and the Prime Minister, boy, all the evil boy. You know, because he's making a mockery out of all you, right? Already deport the man for that. And all they used to play one of the man thing on the or the live here, the one with the air condition for it, what we see there, hitting Rowley. Remember that one? You used to play there, and that was last year. But Fitzgerald Hines and all that, well, they can't stop. They want to deport people because they're making all the stupid. Or they continue with all their wickedness. Have a good day,
Yes, indeed. But there is, of course, a biblical reference that one can make to what is happening to the PNM at this point in time. PNM reminds me of Pharaoh, when, of course, Moses had warned Pharaoh to let the people go, let his people go. But instead, they engage in all kinds of shenanigans, all kinds of iniquities, all kinds of illegal and wicked and oppressive conduct. But eventually, at the end of it all, they had no choice. But in such circumstance, he was not sincere, as is the case with this government. They are never sincere with anything, always to do evil and to as if they are holier than thou, as if they are pristine, as if they are immaculate. Well, you said, apart from the biblical, evil cannot prevail over good. That is a fundamental principle that is yet to be defined. And if, of course, Rowley and they want to enter where angels fear, that they want to show us and the world and the region that they can, of course, engage in autocratic, draconian, and Machiavellian type conduct and believe that they are going to get away with it. I say to them, Oh, what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to deceive, but in this case, a time longer than twine, and it will catch up with them. And their portion, as far as the blue lights and silver bracelets are concerned, poetic justice notwithstanding, because everything they would have, their so-called negotiation of gas at a higher price, ostensibly in the interest of the people, and we don't know where those higher gas prices and the resulting monies that would have been accumulated has gone. But yet still it will pointless us by some 11 or so companies, and Rowley could care less. He says to those companies on which we rely for foreign exchange because their business is dealing with the foreign market and therefore with the accumulating foreign exchange through which taxes are paid, commercial taxes are paid, and their monies because they deal with US pay in US. Rowley claiming he was reporting for Trinidad and Tobago and seeking Trinidad and Tobago's interests, but in the process allowing these people to leave our shores rather than, of course, engaging, compromising, negotiating, and at the same time making certain that we get foreign exchange available to us, not like what is happening today. Oh, Dr. Rowley and his entire cabinet must be charged with treason, the highest non-bailable offense anybody could commit in this country. It is overbearing, and I had a discussion today with a foreign, what I consider to be whistleblower, who gave me some very disquieting yes information that I will share with you in future. I want to face you face to face, but because I have to speak behind the scenes, I'm not too comfortable with that. But because we have a commitment to Trinidad and to Tobago, there is a need for every day, and as we make a commitment that we deliver, because you must understand the gravity, the degree, and the evil that is the Rowley administration and the PNM over the years. The only reason they could have be so evil to Trinidad and Tobago and be so self-serving is because they have been in office for too long, that as a party, and that it is now pretense that the changing leader under an arrangement to stay in office, we will have none of it. The PNM must be, of course, relegated to the dustbin of political history in this country. It must be totally and absolutely annihilated from the political arena in Trinidad and Tobago. That much I am certain of. And you would want to accept they getting to hell out of office as a criminal enterprise. Just look at Balize House, people. Just look at Balize House and understand what we are up against. And they will not stop because they have not asked for forgiveness. Instead, they pretended that the iniquity did not exist. And they continue. And I'm talking about the property tax. And I have to be behind the scenes and therefore talking blindly, so to speak. We have to call now 337-6940, 337-6940. Those of you who are so inclined, even though, of course, we are having some camera problems. If I show myself now, it will be in black and white. I didn't think it was necessary. I think, of course, staying behind the scenes will have a greater impact in terms of your contribution and what is carded for the topics or buoyancy of the economy as illusionarily and as fictitiously expressed by the finance minister only recently to justify property tax is exactly that, a fiction and illusion, and therefore must be condemned. And you must understand, you must go to the polls or to the voting booth. The confidence that you are displacing an evil, tyrannic, wicked, nasty, destructive, kleptocratic, as well as idiocratic, a group of individuals who have lost their way, unpatriotic, and are self-serving to the core.
The war in Ukraine, because the war in Ukraine has pushed out of the market the largest exporter of oil and probably the largest exporter of gas, one of the largest exporters of gas. It is the Ukraine war that pushed the Russian supply out of the market. If anything happens out there that caused that situation to change, the war in Ukraine, then that pressure for the high price is gone and oil price will fall.
So you see clearly what Rowley and they are depending on, some kind of magic, some kind of wishful thinking, some kind of hope. But we put them there to do what? To manage our affairs, and not to think ad hominemly, and not to tell us about economic magic. But of the circumstance, as was the case with the UNC under Pandey, and as was the case with the UNC under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, they created, they devised, they adjusted, they adapted. One of the things that you must realize with this administration is that they are very analytical. They are very, of course, versed in diagnosing. They are very diagnostic. They could tell you about a problem. They could tell you about crime. They could tell you where it come from. They could tell you who involved. They could tell you how much involved. They could tell you it's a business, etc., etc. That is the diagnostic part. Listen to Hines. Listen to Rowley. Listen to the Minister of Education. Listen to Stuart Young. Listen to the Minister of Works. All of them very diagnostic, including, of course, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Very diagnostic, and they could think, they could analyze the problem. You know, when coming to is always a prescription, and they come with prescriptions as well. The only problem is that these prescriptions do not. A patient relies for not only diagnosing the problem, addressing the problem, solving the problem. So you have diagnostic, and you have, of course, the situation where prescriptions are required. That is why you go to the pharmacies with prescription day. Is that it is about solutions, solving the cold, the fever, the headaches, in the case of a medical condition. In this case, it is about a socio-economic and psycho-cultural towards what? Towards living and quality of life. Rowley and they are attempting, of course, to make mediocrity and a pause and a reduced standard of living look as though it is normal. And they have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, and the forwardness to tell us that all you're lucky it could have been worse. You know what I say? I say they tell us that only lucky it could have been worse. When Rowley tells us that they went through COVID and not a gazetted public servant was taken off the payroll, that they were able to find money to provide these green boxes or green hampers, as they call it. Oblivious to the fact that it's our money, one, and two, that we put them there to solve problems as they come along, era to era, issues by issues, and making it look as though we should be thankful for them for doing what modicum of responsibility, awesome as it would have been and has always been. So we could say then that thanks to Kamala, that we would madman approach to government and governance. They believe that somehow Trinidad and Tobago belong to them. That is how they get on, as if as if they bequeathed it, or it was bequeathed to them, or they inherited it, and as a consequence, they can do what the hell they want, and it could have been worse. Well, I say to Rowley, they haul all your ass, all your tails, all your mad. How dare you? And the level of disrespect for the collective and individual intelligence of the people is beyond comprehension. But this man, when he has to address the population on serious issues, whether it's crime, whether it's economy, and acts as though the evil that we are experiencing is normal and must be accepted. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night. I know that you're not seeing me.
Pleasant good night, Lennox, man. The YouTube kind of like sticking, man.
Oh gosh, boy. Well, again,
yeah.
I don't know what's
So
happening.
I just have like one major issue over here.
Go ahead.
How on God's green earth? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead.
So
yes,
just kind of wondering, like, how on God's green earth is this? All right, yeah. So just a question, like, how on God's green earth could this man go into people back and know how much money people have? Right? That is one thing. Secondly, all this property this man has investigation into, like how you accumulate all them properties, and it is alleged that he also owns an island. You know what I mean? Now, how is that even remotely possible? Enlighten me.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know, and that is not so enigmatic or mysterious as one would, under normal circumstance, want to contemplate. You know, the man is a thief, and that is how that was accumulated, and not thieving with a conscience. You know, if thieving could be ascribed, as I'm concerned, a thief has no conscience. But this fella is unconscionable. Look what he has done to the PNM by taking millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and could do that. And the PNM was bankrupt back in 2015, according to him, owing $4 million. Which political organization, or indeed, which medium business could survive with a bankruptcy record of $4 million far less for a political organization that is now billing a monstrosity vacillating over $100 million. The answer for that is simple. He's a thief. He's a blatant and unadulterated, not just a liar, not just a rapist, not just a pedophile, but his stint in office, as far as he is concerned, is to be larceny, kleptocratic group of individuals that are of a what? Of a mafia orientation. It's going to come out. We will know. And you're quite right. No person who studies rock and lectures at a university could accumulate that in such a short space of time, as we now are aware. And notice they remain silent when they cannot respond as far as their common sense is concerned, as far as their cognitive and rationality is concerned. Since they cannot, of course, respond rationally to anything that is so indictable on their part, that they remain silent. So notice, he doesn't speak about the emails. He no longer speaks about how many times that he traveled compared to Kamala Prasad Misesa, running on fumes. He remains silent on of course, the fake oil matter. He remained silent on Al-Rari's, of course, the children, after he said that they were children of Al-Rari. He remained silent on the accusation that Gary Griffith made with respect, of course, giving him $40 million to Hong Kong UNC former ministers. Notice he don't respond to that. Notice he remained silent on the whole question of intervening with respect, of course, and setting up in the process weeks in the police service commission imbroglio. Notice that. And he will invent new or conduct himself in new areas, because like a dog, he continues sucking egg. He continues to do so without any consideration as to the consequences, because of power, and that he can manipulate and undermine and subvert the system for his nefarious, egregious, outlandish, and ill-gotten and ill-fated agenda. Yes, indeed. Let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Tonight is the Prime Minister. Right. The Prime Minister told the people of Trinidad and Tobago that the rich have to get richer in order to help the poor. Well, 9 years in office, and he allowed the rich to get richer based on win. I ain't seen them helping the poor, but now he's trying to come and tell people, I don't know how he get that information, that people have surplus in their account and they should take the money now, the country. But he now he take 9 years and he allowed the rich to get richer. He told us that, and they get richer. Now they're not helping the poor. So I want him to calculate that for me, because he maxing. And I want to make a clarion call to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. All you're suffering, all you cannot make ends meet per month, per fortnight, and per week, and all you know what I'm saying is the truth. This property tax is poverty tax. So I want all you to know, if all you don't want this tax, come out on whenever that election call and put your X by the rising sun. Enough is enough. We cannot continue like this because just now, and all of them only selling only a dream about look how this country is and we never know these countries didn't get there like today. The take is there. And now we get one and we leading right today. So all you don't take God out of all your thoughts and do anything different. Put your X by the rising sun and let me bring back some stabilization in the country. So let us have a blessed one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, just a pause for a word of caution because I think a word of caution to the wise, I think, is always well placed. Somebody said earlier that I must be understood in the agenda. For example, Andy, Mikey, and I do not, of course, assemble in the same place at any one time for any particular mission. Notice that on pushback 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, wise, of course, we were maybe mingling around, but we would have been there, of course, from different angles of the physical space that would have been used for the particular event. And you would see that even when we go to survive these people, and we have, of course, even greater responsibility post Rowley, post the PNM, and post this evil set of individuals. No doubt. Let me go. I get on my telephone here. I'm not seeing it showing up, so I'm using telephone in this case. So let's go straight there. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night. This is the Silver Fox.
Yes, the Silver Fox. Welcome.
Now, don't care how we talking about Rowley, saying Rowley this, Rowley that. The only solution we have is to get out on the street and get rid of this evil to be going on. We could talk all we want. That is not getting rid of him. We have to get up. If you is a godly person and to get Satan away, God does raise you to fight battle. So we can't just talk about Rowley and riches because how much money these fellas bring into the country to change over from paper money to the notes they have now. We don't know how much. How much they sign for themselves. We don't know how much. We don't even know what is our own living in this country. We have to stand up, Lennox, because we are in a bad state. Nobody is not really fighting for us. We have to ones who have money. They are not coming out. They are not coming out to help the poor. The poor man will feel it. It's only poor people feeling it. Poor people have to come out here. We have to go on the street and run that man once. Evil cannot prevail over good, and that man is evil. Is evil to be going on. Evil. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And I want to say that everyone must be focused and intrusively, if necessary, incisely focus on getting rid of the Rowley administration. Now, just imagine if we were not talking, for example. So you understand the argument here. I am not, of course, reducing the need for boots on the ground. I'm saying that should be an addition. But to say that not ventilating, or put another way, ventilating will not contribute to the inevitable that would have been lost if we did not have social media, and the fact that that caller could call from Tobago tonight, and the fact that even though we have some impediments, I cannot show my face, but certainly walking behind the camera, so to speak, And who knows, it might well be that they may be involved in some kind of sabotage. But the fact that we are unrelenting in our dedication and to highlight the issue is crucial. You see, there must be, of course, a consensus as to the particular strategy and or direction to take. And all of this is part and parcel because, you see, the Victor Roberts, the Arnold Roberts, the corridor transformation, the observer, etc. All of them, all of us are here for one purpose. You see, how do you know that you are being effective? When the PNM, for the common enemy, the common threat to Trinidad and Tobago, the common weapon against our civilization and our society, has engaged and utilizing the windfall, our money, to generate the propaganda to counter this. So just imagine if we remain silent. You can imagine what all of the opinion forming mechanisms and systems, you can imagine that. Them alone talking and we do not have a counter or equals against themselves. So the point I am making is that putting boots on the streets is an addition to the fundamental, the basics, that we must articulate the issue so that there is a common consciousness, a common, and of course, a determination that the Rowley administration must go. If we do not do this, if we only take God out of our thoughts and go silent, I am not saying that the caller meant to go silent. I know him very well in discussion with him, and I know that he doesn't mean go silent. What he means, of course, the overwhelming, I suppose, or the over-reliance on these kinds of initiative must be tempered. And there must be, of course, additional initiative. I'm sure is what he would have meant. But for the unesoteric and those who may not be familiar or accurate with a statement like that, because the statement is clear, the talking will not. No, the talking, highlighting the issues has its role. They are not comfortable. Why I think that we must be careful. We are the progenitors, we are the originators, we are the initiators of the discussion. And if they tell us that we must be careful, of whom or about whom, or as a result of whom we must be careful, has to be Rowley and there. And therefore, potency of these kinds of discourse. So I want to make it very clear. Not that the caller doesn't know, but I'm talking about for those who may believe that somehow there is a need to deep and promote something else. No, all must be, preferably all, and in equal measure, preferably. But the reality is of the gun, or the barrel of the gun. And therefore, when, of course, the gunpowder is ignited and the gas forms inside of the case, the bullet case, because the missile that is at the end of the bullet, because it is attached to the bullet shell, and that area is weak, then the gas forms in the bullet. And the gas, since it swells, forces the bullet out, and thus you have a shot. And the missile can go in the direction, whether directly or intended or not. I thought it was important, of course, to pause a bit on that particular matter so that we have it clear. It has its role. However, let's go back. I see that my Tobago friend is calling back. Pleasant good night.
Yes, Lennox. What I really want to say,
Yes.
say man is a sword.
Yes.
And we leave Rowley too long. We leave Rowley too long doing what he wants and when he wants. This is the problem we have in today because we leave Rowley to take milk and he taking honey with it too. It is time. It is time. It have a time that you got to open your business and you have a time we just close your business. We need to close the business and get rid of Rowley. Get rid of that individual. He's a human being just like us. He's a man that's born up and everybody. Because
caller, wait a while. Point 14 caller, just wait a while. I have someone from Tobago on, and I'll take you in a while.
No.
Yeah, go
Going on, your live well sticking bad and then we ain't getting nothing on the live, you know.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead, you know, boy.
We ain't getting nothing on the live.
All right.
Sticking bad.
All right. Yeah, people are complaining about the live different context. So I will have to, of course, send these towers to the technicians. I hope that I can get it back in a day's time. Tomorrow, of course, is Friday, so I calculated it in such a way. And of course, on Saturday, hopefully, everything will be hunky-dory. So I'll be taking both systems to the technician to see whether or not they can assist me and to add whatever component that is required. I know that these things wear and tear, of course, and every night we are attempting, of course, to have a live, so you will appreciate, of course, at some point in time, just as a human being, wear and tear will take its toll. So that be nice of me. Of course, Mr. Tobago called back to, of course, said that we give Dr. Rowley too much leeway. Well, again, there's an explanation for that, you know. Back in 2015, nobody believed that Rowley, and therefore everybody, those of us who was prepared to give him a chance, because he gave the impression that he was a corruption buster. You remember? He tackled his own boss, Manning. Called a heart notwithstanding. Don't forget that. And of course, he went on with us, and we thought at the time there was some validity in it with respect to the always is a figment of Dr. Rowley's imagination, evil imagination. We know that too. And we know that, of course, we know that as well. Never meant it to be what he was projecting it to be, but the population were fooled because they were ruse. And at the time, he was able to capitalize. And of course, the media. At the time, we didn't have, of course, the social media as we have it now. And all of them contributed, of course, to this bizarre situation that we have, that we must now, of course, respond appropriately and jettison from the politics of the country. Professor, good night. Professor, good night. Welcome. Yes.
Good night. Just calling back again there. One thing I noticed about the PMM and everything like that, there's always problem. I don't know if it's me or what, but with your show, with Mikey